But I really feel like the true alchemy of success is in friendship, and friendship with people with the same values and frequency and vibration as you, because it's so needed, because the world out there is so crazy and it's on a different vibration, and it is a fight every day to remain there. And I think that's important about empowerment too, is like, you have to be strong. You have to be strong in order to remain in your center and be yourself and not get taken in by the energies that are out there.
Welcome back to Perspective Switch, where we talk about spirituality and self-development. Today's guest is Jacqueline, and we are here in Austin, Texas.
Yay!
Jacqueline I keep Jacqueline.
Yeah.
I'm just overthinking how I'm saying the word Jacqueline.
You know, you say that, and whenever I have to say my name, like when ordering for food, I always feel like I trip up over my own name because of the syllables, so we'll get to the same place no matter how it comes out. So,
you were previously known as the Awesome Medium, and you
I
recently rebranded.
I did.
And shifted into cosmic soul blueprints.
Yeah.
And soul mapping and oracle card readings.
Yeah.
And I'm so excited to get to know what you do and why you do it.
Oh, I would love to talk about the evolution, because I've gone through such a major transformation and shift, and I love your podcast name, Perspective Switch.
Yeah.
Because I think everything that I wanted to create and do was already there. It was just a shifting my perspective and my thoughts about myself and what I wanted to create. So obviously we'll get into the gritty details, but just love your podcast name.
Yeah. Yeah, I've found that my most profound experiences are when my perspective just switches instantly.
Yep.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, perspective is everything. Like, I can go from thinking that I don't know why I'm thinking about this one experience when I was in Ocean Beach, San Diego, and there was this homeless guy. He was saying something, and I was in the perspective of like, life is good, like I'm having fun, this is fun, and I was like laughing at him, and then in an instant I realized that he was saying something really serious and like dark, and then I was like, oh shit, like he's like not happy right now.
Oh dang.
And in that moment I'm like, wow, perspective is literally everything.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's what I would talk about when you're transforming as a human being. Often it's not about somebody telling you something, or you go to a school and you learn something new, or you read something in a book. Oftentimes it's something that is just slowly unraveling or revealing to ourselves. Yeah. And it's from those quiet contemplative moments, I believe, that if you commit to a regular practice, you realize you're removing these veils and your perception of everything changes.
Yeah.
And it begins the deprogramming of your mind, because so many of us have grown in a society as children, from our parents, from institutions like our school, tell us how we're supposed to live, how we're supposed to think. And I think at a certain point in your life, you have this awakening. There's multiple awakenings, which I saw a previous episode that I loved, that you guys talked about awakenings and how many times you go through it as an individual. But there's a moment where you deprogram everything that you've been taught, and then you start to come from a place of your own being and your own center about, this is what I feel about this situation, and this is what I see, and that becomes my truth. And I think that's why, perspective switch and revealing and being in silence can help you arrive those things, as well as people like yourself, other people like us, to support us through the craziness that we live in this world. It's a lot to handle. And we were just talking before we sat down. I'm super vulnerable because I'm in the middle of a move, and that was happening literally yesterday, and I had to drive here for a while, so I'm just putting it all out there. Being myself and being vulnerable, and however you show up is acceptable.
Vulnerability, like, what does it mean for you to feel vulnerable?
It's raw. It's feeling exposed and open, and kind of like that feeling in your heart center where you're just like, you could probably cry, like right now. Like I could probably cry. But it's just, and it's also, it's just pure emotion. And weirdly, vulnerability to me is like surrender, because when you're feeling vulnerable, there's no control over that, right? There is to a certain degree, but it's just to where you're just like, well, this is how I feel. I can't seem to snap myself out of it. A lot is going on, but I'm going to arrive in this feeling. And I think it's a surrendering. But I do believe that surrendering, that vulnerability is where the magic comes in, right? Because you just feel the cracks in your heart. Maybe you're breaking apart a little bit. And then that is the building blocks to build something new. So when I'm feeling vulnerable, I used to really beat myself up about it. I always felt like I needed to be perfect. I needed to have it all together. I needed the perfect outfit. I needed to have meditated for an hour beforehand. And I have learned that that means jack shit. Like, just show up however you are, because that's perfectly acceptable. There's a wholeness inside us that is already perfection, but you're also not meant to be perfect, and that is your beauty. And so that is a lesson that I've learned, that I think I wouldn't be as eloquent or articulate if I hadn't had that that lesson, that just show up as you are and it's okay, right? And you know, even if you seem a little batty to one person, maybe just one person is going to see you and be like, okay, man, I can do this, right? I don't need to be perfect, and there is a platform for everybody.
Yesterday I went to a meetup, and it's not even just like about that this was a social media meetup. It was like, this happens to me a lot, where when I'm in big social settings and I have conversations and interactions with people, there's always these like little things that I do or say, and I'm like, oh wait, like I don't know how they took that, like do they not like me, or and I just keep thinking about it when there's so many more other interactions that are really good and meaningful, and like we had such an amazing conversation, but I'm fixated on oh, I don't think they like me now, or like they think I'm too much, or like I'm too deep. That's a big one for me, is because I am really deep.
Yes, that's a big trigger for me too. Like I tell this to my friend Jordan. We're really close, and we talk about this all the time. And I don't know about you, but if you're text messaging, if you're like me, like I can't just like say short things. Like I have to write a novel. So I'm very much the same way, where I feel like I'm a lot. But I think the reason we are the way we are, I think that also is our gift, and that tends to agitate those who maybe aren't ready to live as deeply as you are, right? So it's hard not to internalize that. I had to go through that same experience.
And it's interesting, because logically I want to be like, how can I change to help people more, or but then like I'm also on the flip side, I'm like, I shouldn't be trying to be different for anyone. It's just such a
I'm loving all of these thoughts, because that's something that I care a lot about, is thought alchemy. Is basically noticing or having the mindfulness or the presence of mind to know what thoughts we're feeling in a situation, and then how we respond to those thoughts. And each time you respond to those thoughts in a positive manner, it gets easier and more natural just to be yourself and be in your center, and not really care about how people are reacting to you. I say that, but like nobody's perfect, and even me, I will even know that I've been doing a lot of work with thought alchemy, right? And like I'll still will get triggered by an interaction, right? So it's okay to still have those feelings and those moments. It's just not to attach to them. It's just to give yourself that self-love, that, you know what, I'm going to treat myself with kindness. That probably could have gone better, but it's all right. I'm moving on. And whatever happened maybe was meant to happen, either for my growth or for their growth as well. So girl, I feel for you, especially because people like us, like I can see you like absorbing energy. So you're also just absorbing all of that energy. How many people were there?
Like 60 or 70.
Oh, yeah.
And we were like in like a really packed space.
I
definitely did feel angst a lot of.
Part of it could have been not even yours. It could be just the angst and the tension in that room, because I'm sure in an event like that, everyone has their aspirations and their goals, right? And that's a lot of energy to work with. I don't want to even place that being a bad thing, because I see in terms of energy and I'm like, oh, but there's so much you can build with the energy that people are feeling in that room. So, but it's still exhausting. And especially, did you fly?
I did.
I don't know what it is, but I've talked to a lot of people in the spiritual community. Us light workers on a plane just does not work. So it's like, you need a recovery period from the plane. You need a recovery period from being around that many people. So I'm saying kudos to you. You're sitting here in front of me doing a podcast after all of that and all of those thoughts. Like I can even see the energy of them around you. That's good. That's regenerative energy, rebirth energy.
I've really been practicing. I don't want to say like not absorbing other people's energies, but knowing when it's not mine.
Beautiful.
And to just like not be like, oh, like the other day I was walking on the river here in Austin, and I was walking by this kayak stand, and like in this instant moment, I'm like, ooh, like I feel like really anxious, like I don't want to talk to anyone.
Interesting.
And it was like I did not have that thought at all, and like I don't really have those thoughts. So I was just like observed it as like maybe that was someone else, how someone else is feeling.
Absolutely trust your instincts. That's another thing about being us, is trusting the weird, right? Because it's so difficult when things are so hidden and it makes absolutely no sense. You didn't see any visual cues about why you should be anxious, but certainly I've always learned trust your vibes, trust your instincts. So that was good. Like maybe the kayak person was an anxious individual, or maybe you did need to be on high alert in that moment. But also there are energies that love rivers, spirits. So rivers are a hub of energy and activity. So sometimes they can also make you anxious.
I would love to get into your spiritual awakenings. When your first one was.
Oh my, you're gonna have to go all the way to childhood for that one. So, and I always like to say my journey is unique to me, and I don't know why I feel compelled to say this. Maybe someone's watching this, but just because I was activated so young doesn't mean that you don't have these abilities. It doesn't mean that you don't have the gift because you weren't feeling it when you were younger. So I just always like to put a little disclaimer there. Just because I was experiencing this at a young age doesn't mean that I was always meant to be this way and this is my purpose. But no, I was a kid. I was about 10 years old, and I was starting to feel presence in my room at night, and I would see them. And so I'd get out of bed and I'd run into my parents' bedroom, and obviously, my parents are not spiritually minded at all. So they were just like, oh, it's okay, she's just having nightmares. And I started sleepwalking, wetting the bed. I was having nightly visitations, and eventually, just because it was never addressed and I had no other way to describe or deal with what I was feeling, I just kind of put it somewhere right inside. I did find out later, I was actually watching a childhood video, and I saw I'm not really sure if it was my dad's great-grandmother or my mom's grandmother, but I saw her and I was like, that was the woman that was in my room.
Wow.
Yeah, down to the mole and everything. And I just had goosebumps like erupt all over my body. And that's where I kind of knew like there might be actually something to this. After that, I just kind of muted energies, because as a kid, if it's not nurtured in you, you just kind of have to find a way to cope, right? And I think you just kind of forget about the invisible world. And it wasn't until I was in college here in Austin, Texas, because I was in Houston and I went to school here at Texas State, and I sublet an apartment, and then that is really where my biggest spiritual awakening came. And I don't know if you've noticed, or if anyone listening notices, that a lot of people on this spiritual path, our gateway is in the paranormal, which I love. I'll talk about the paranormal all dang day. But it was, I was with my best friend Mary, and we were subletting an apartment. For those of you in Austin, the Ballpark Apartments, it's right across from UT. And The first 3 nights that I slept in that room, I had the most vivid nightmares that I've ever had in my life, where I was literally a murderer and seeing through the eyes of a murderer, carrying out all of these acts. And it's so bizarre to me that each night that would continue where it left off. I've never had a dream.
Whoa.
Yeah, where it was the same thing and it picked up from the night before. And on the 3rd night, I ended up having terrible nightmares about my family members in awful situations.
Yeah.
And I just thought that was so weird. I still can't explain those dreams that I was having, but after the 3rd night, I had sleep paralysis. And I slept in the nude back then, you know, college girl, feeling good about herself, had the satin sheets, and I was just laying on my stomach. I woke up before my body woke up and I couldn't move. And I suddenly felt hands going through my back. Like through my back. Like not just touching it, but somehow going inside it.
Whoa.
Like stroking it. So I'm like in my body feeling this, freaking out. And I'm just like telling my body to wake up. And I get my ass out of bed, butt ass naked, into my best friend's room. And she's like, what is going on? I was like, move over. I'm like, I'm coming in because there's something in my room. And so the other bizarre thing was, as soon as I got up and woke up, I heard this loud popping noise that I have never heard in my entire life. It's just, I can't even describe to you. It's like I've never heard that noise again. And I remember talking about it to someone else, and they were basically saying there are noises like when, like popping in and out of portals, like beings can make. I don't know for sure, but it was a bizarre noise. And so obviously I'm a young college girl in this room and it's being freaky, and I'm like, I'm not even walking in there anymore. But what do, right? I sublet my apartment. I have to stay here. I need to make this work. And so I just started researching, and I found a crystal shop, which you have to go to if you're able to. It's here in town called Crystal Works. And the day that I went there, the owner happened to be there, which I think was really kismet. And she told me how to cleanse a room and cleanse spirits. And so for anybody who wonders what that entails, obviously you've got your sage, right?
Yeah.
But for me, it was the strong intentions.
Yeah.
It was calling in the light energy and using the water and blessing every space in that room and letting basically whatever was there, that it was not allowed. And then I never had an issue ever since I did that. And that is how I knew that I had some sort of gift, because this wasn't the first time. Even when I was in middle school and high school, I had some other paranormal experiences, which I won't get into, but I think this one was the final being like, okay, there's something to me. And I always knew that I picked up on energies. I'm sensitive. I mean, when you know, like anyone who's like works in a spiritual community, has a spiritual practice, you know you're sensitive. You see truth a lot earlier in life than other people, which creates a lot of angst and agitation because the world's not ready for you yet, you know?
Wow.
So that experience is when I started to realize I want to know what this is. I want to know what it is I'm feeling. Why am I so different? And that's where it kind of all began. I will tell you guys, I did find out that in that room there was just a trigger warning for anyone listening. You may want to skip ahead. This has to do with sexual assault. So I did find out that the girl who was staying in that room had been sexually assaulted repeatedly in that room and also physically abused. So I think that type of really abusive, violent energy can attract all sorts of things that want to feed off of that energy. And so whatever was that entity that had been attracted to that energy was still in the room and was basically trying to victimize me. I say victimize, feed off of me, because I've started to learn, like, in darkness, you don't have to be afraid. It's just they're carrying out their role in life, right?
Yeah.
Their darkness.
Yeah.
And I look at it from a positive perspective because that darkness led me to this beautiful light-filled life. So was it dark? I don't know, right?
Yeah.
So interesting. So yeah, you got quite a conversation about that.
Yeah.
But that's where I started learning and working, and I want to say that was, oh my God, maybe 18 years ago, maybe more. I'm aging myself here. So it was a while ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing that really stuck with me is how when you were younger, you had nightmares, you wet the bed, and you sleptwalk.
Yeah.
I literally had those same exact experiences.
Okay, see? There's something to it.
Yeah.
Do you work or communicate with a spiritual team at all, or with ghosts or anything currently?
I do communicate with my spirit team
Yeah.
often, like all the time.
Yeah.
It's a constant conversation. Of
Same
like,
girl.
And I've been taking a course with channeling, and we actually were just talking about this last week about how it was, I think, 2/3 of the people sleptwalk when they were younger, which is it's really interesting. And
I just said that, I got
this.
goosebumps.
Yeah.
Seriously. Anyone listening, if you ever sleptwalk as a child, maybe explore your gifts.
Yes, yeah.
Neat.
I don't feel like I've ever really had experiences with ghosts.
Yeah. That's okay.
And when I was younger, I was terrified. I was like, I do not want to see a freaking ghost.
Hey.
I was scared of my basement, like running around.
Well, dude, see, even as children, we were in ownership of our sovereignty. And if our intention is not to see, we will not see.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, unless I have noticed that there are exceptions to that rule. Some people are just meant to see as part of their blueprint, it's part of their experiences that have been programmed in. But most of the time, if you say, I don't want to see, then you're not going to. So, yeah. And there's all sorts of ways to work with spiritual energy. And because it's not just ghosts that you pick up on as a kid, too. There's just personally, I feel there's elementals, there's our watchers, our guardians, our angels. It could be any and everything that you're picking up on. And you don't know because you don't understand, right?
Yeah.
It's scary.
Yeah. There's so much out there that we can't see.
Exactly. I call it the mystery, the hidden. And that is what you and we deal in, which I will talk about all the time because that's my life. That's in my blueprint, to talk about what you don't see. And being able to, well, how do you walk this earth with this whole other hidden realm? And how do you, and for me, I expose people to this hidden realm. That's part of why I'm here, is like, hey, did you know this whole other world exists and you can access it and you can create your own reality from it? What? So yeah, if you get me going, I'll go on forever.
I want to get into blueprint.
Oh, yeah.
What that reading looks like, and maybe like what your blueprint is. To give people like more of an idea of what this means.
Yeah, actually, I would love to get into this. We can start also, I think, just personally to kind of learn a little bit about my evolution and how I even came to the Cosmic Soul Blueprint. So I've been working in the psychic arts and spirituality for, as you know, like 18 years now, and developing different tools, learning more about myself and awakenings. And when I first began my journey, I stepped into what was already out there, which was Austin, like mediums, right? You can think Long Island medium. I'm Austin, Texas medium. And I was really gifted at connecting with people with their loved ones, and I could connect to my spiritual team in order to deliver messages for people.
Yeah.
I was very gifted at it. I was always doing it very reluctantly. I had this gift, but it's not easy. This type of energy is not easy to facilitate. And not to diminish those readings, because I think they were groundbreaking and they were wonderful gateways and doorways for people. And then oftentimes the sessions ends up going to the places where I love to talk about, which is just what your spiritual team wants you to know about yourself and who you are. But so finally I started paying attention to my body and my feelings as I was evolving and learning more about what it is that really excites me. Like, what do I love to talk about? What has always just kind of been something that was really important to me. And even though I was doing these types of readings, of like psychic readings, I still love to talk about life purpose. Because I think it's such a loaded question, especially in our society, that I think there's this impression that it's tied to our career or it's one thing, right? And I've learned throughout my learning that it is so much more complex than that, which I'll get into with the Cosmic Soul Blueprint. But so as I was evolving and learning, and I attended a mystery school, it's through, I'm totally going to plug, it's through Order of the Golden Dawn. It's kind of like a secret order. Okay. But they have these wonderful knowledge lectures from, the dawn of time. And you have all of this knowledge now out there about how to map the soul and what it means to be a human with a soul and dealing with the hidden realms and how we evolve our consciousness. And so I started learning that, and I personally started evolving, and I learned that you really, just for me personally, I don't want to place too much emphasis on this is the only way, because I'm sure it's not. But what I've learned is that we light workers, and I don't think everyone has a complex blueprint. I don't think everyone has a mission here on Earth. I think there are some that are young souls, and they're in a lower vibration and frequency, and they're living their souls out in that terms. But I think there are also people like you, and I think other spiritual light workers, starseeds, whatever you want to call them, spiritually sensitive people. We choose our mission on Earth, and we program a blueprint that we work from when we're going to Earth. And so oftentimes when you are dealing with difficult relationships or difficult challenges in your life, maybe with a job or a career, there's a good chance that you probably program that into your experience on Earth so that you could grow from it. Because really, what we need to evolve our consciousness and to get to a more loving, free spirit is through our challenges. Happy experiences you can alchemize as well, but often it's our really difficult experiences, what I like to call our karma, that we really evolve our souls. And so what I have just through the tools and things that I've learned is I can figure out what you personally, as Lonnie, is that how you say your name?
Yeah.
Basically said, this is the thing that I'm going to go through. This is the family and ancestral bloodline that I want to work with.
Yeah.
And this is the type of archetype of person that I want to be in the world. And you kind of program those things into it. And I use things like your astrology. I use the tree of life, through the lens of Kabbalah, basically the different, it's a lot, guys, but there are, if you guys know the Merkaba or Merkaba, however you like to call it, there are basically stages of your soul's consciousness, and you can work with it energetically, and I can kind of see where your soul is on that map. I can also see what elements you like to work with. Your astrology informs that too. But mostly I attune to the Akashic records, which is my favorite thing to tune into as a spiritual person. And there's basically a library catalog of your soul and every single iteration, alternative reality of your soul in this filing cabinet. It's like a container in space that you can connect to consciously. And so I have trained myself in my sacred space to connect to this Akashic record to learn about your soul. And then I placed it in an organized manner so that you can understand it.
Yeah.
I don't like to get too far into the tools that I use, but I will, like the Cosmic Soul Blueprint, which is what I'm doing now, is I'm able to put your soul in a workbook, figuring out what it is you programmed into yourself, learn more about you, your karma, and your mission, your personal mission. And I've learned it's never just one thing. What it's about is getting out of your own way. Like your whole programming, all it is just getting out of your own way to transcend the lower self so that you can ascend in this lifetime to work with divine energy. that's what we're all striving for on earth, is basically getting to a point where you can now work in harmony with the divine, and you don't have any of your karma distorting that relationship. And then you create this beautiful energy out of it, which I call the third energy. And that is the creation born through your partnership. So that is literally what I do in my services, is figuring out, what is your mission? Who are you? What are your gifts? What are your talents? Where do you need to, what karma needs to kind of get out of the way so you can bring in more energy, and then ultimately birth that creation through you that is meant to just light up the world and essentially save humanity. No big deal. So, yeah, I know that was a lot, but I hope I got to the whole, what you might see with the Cosmic Soul Blueprint. And that's the kind of stuff that I adore to talk about, is that transformation and ascending, and how to use tools in order to get to that point. Because I think that's the hardest work that we all do, is that transformation. And it's brutal. It's vulnerable. Yeah. It's not an easy road. And that's why we need people like you and all of our spiritual friends to help us through it, because we need like spiritual support group through transformation.
Yeah. And the ones, I feel like the people who go first, the people who are vulnerable first, are like the ones who lead the way.
Yes.
So it can be challenging for sure.
Oh, I love how you say that, because that is so true.
Yeah.
It's not easy to be spiritually sensitive, because we are on a mission and we are meant to do things differently.
Yeah.
And it agitates. You'll either light up someone and you become the catalyst that changes their entire world. Like, for instance, someone could be listening and will hear one phrase, one sentence, and suddenly their mind creates another branch, and an entirely new reality is opened up to them. And then you have another person, when you're being yourself and you're going on your own different, unique path, and it's going to agitate them, and they may attack you, or they may say you're crazy, or there's all sorts of ways to agitate people. They may kick you out of things, right? And say you don't belong here. They're not your tribe. But yeah, it's not an easy road to be spiritually sensitive, to have a mission on earth, to be authentic.
I mean, I think it's so empowering to know that we can get to a place where no matter how people react to us, that doesn't have to affect us. Oh, that's where I'm working the most right now, is like, because what I've done is I'm so sensitive, so now I'm just like, all right, I'm just not gonna hang out with anyone, right? But like, how long does that last for?
Yes.
So I'm like, okay, like I gotta put myself out there, and then every time I put myself out there, I feel vulnerable.
Hell yeah.
And then I'm like, damn, like this is gonna take me a couple days to like build back my strength.
Yes.
So I'm like, okay, like how do I put myself out there and not need it? It feels like I need people's validation. Like, like if they're like, oh, you're amazing, or if they're like, oh, like you're weird. Right? Like those both affect me. So like, how about I just don't take either, and I'm just coming from myself, and like, I know who I am. I know what I'm doing. I know my experiences, and I trust my experiences, and like, I don't need anyone else to validate me or invalidate me.
Oh, I love that. You just described enlightenment and what it means to be someone who chose to live in communion with the sacred. Like, everybody has that moment in their life where they make a choice that I'm going to live my life spiritually and through my heart, what feels right to me and authentically to me. And to do that is difficult, because you have to have those muscles, right? That continually, you have to come back to yourself and continue to make decisions based on what you feel to be true. And that is not easy. And that's empowerment. And I love that. Yeah.
I've been sitting a lot in silence, and I'm going to reference my bathtub because I love my bathtub so freaking much.
Dude, Lightworker Starseed's best tool is a freaking bathtub.
Yes, like I will say the most profound experiences that have ever happened to me happened in my bathtub. Like, I just have to say that.
Oh, dude, same with me. Some amazing energetic upgrades and like Kundalini awakenings.
Yeah.
Freaking bathtub.
Yeah.
Okay, bathtub sessions with Lonnie.
I honestly really want to make like little kits of like a ceremonial kit for your bathtub of like herbs to put in your bathtub, and then like intentions and
Oh my
just
God.
like a whole, that is a dream of me.
Oh, that's probably operating in your blueprint right there. Because like it is, the bath is a gateway. Water is a channel. It's a gateway. And if you set the intention, you're literally creating sacred space. And that is where you can manifest and attract and heal.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there are so many different ways to do it. And the bathtub is definitely one. And creating an experience from the bathtub is definitely one way. Look at that. That's operating your blueprint, especially if that excites you, because that brings you so much joy, right? Yeah, girl, get on it. I will totally take one of your rituals in a bathtub. You just let me know.
What I was going to say about the bathtub is you mentioned the word empowerment, and like this has been coming through really strong for me. And it's like one of those things I'm like, this is like so obvious. Like, doesn't everyone want to be empowered? But like, there is just something that feels like within myself, it feels so intense, like this word empowerment, and like, how can I empower other people? And envisioning empowering other people, like it like lights me up. And then I'm like, all right, like that means I gotta empower myself first. Ooh. So it's like, I gotta like, there's so much like, I'm gonna say shit, like insecurities and like doubt. And it's like, what do I have to do to let this stuff go? Because that is the only way I can actually empower other people.
Girl, I'm so thrilled to hear you say that, because astrologically, we're in a Sagittarius moon, and we're under two, like a solar eclipse and a lunar eclipse. And during that gateway was all about empowerment. It's now, especially, I'm going to get a little strange here, and I apologize, but there is a rise of the sacred feminine energies where the empowerment comes from your ability to create. It's your womb, right? It's the lower wisdom energy where you access that power. And so I think you can see it reflected in our politics, you know, like they're trying to keep women down, right? But I think they're almost unconsciously, some consciously picking up on the ability to empower yourself is through your ability to create. And when you create, that is the time when you feel the most anxieties and the most doubts, right? Because you're creating from your soul, and that's so vulnerable. And what I think is, in society, we're dealing with so much pain. We have a rise in shootings, we have a rise in suicide, depression, and I think it's when we block out our ability to create from a unique place, and we have to be empowered. And I love to hear you say that, because it sounds like your blueprint is a lot to do with empowering people to give themselves permission to step into whatever the hell they want, right? You don't need permission. You give yourself the power. You give yourself the sovereignty. You're the boss. You don't wait for someone to tell you, oh yes, now you can do this. You step into it. And that is something that is very, very deep and sacred to me as well. That's my why. Why do I do this? Why do I talk about this? Why do I have a service for people about their cosmic soul blueprint and soul mapping? Honestly, it's empowerment. I want to give you the ability to give yourself permission to own whatever you want to own. And you talk about validation, which I think is also interesting, because I've learned when you're mapping your consciousness, it's okay to want that validation, because I've found it's a sphere in your consciousness to get validation. That's part of the process. I've noticed that a lot of spiritual people or sensitive people desire that validation because it's a motivator to work your mission. And you know, that I would never dismiss the need for validation. I think it's okay. Because I've noticed through my studies that it's part of your consciousness. You get to be validated. You do. We get to have our victory. We get to have our material success. So that is within us. Those desires are within us for a reason. And what is a bigger motivation for others watching you rise and saying, what are you doing? And when you get to tell them, that activates them. So your validation and your success becomes an example that can light the path for someone else. So I believe, because even though I've been working this a long time and I built up a good reputation through Austin, Texas Medium, and I have lots of clients, I still seek validation too. I seek an audience. It's in my blueprint, and I used to be so like, oh, who do you think you are, right? Who are you to have like all these big dreams? And that's something I'm working on right now, right? That it's in there. Those desires are in there for a reason, and that they don't just help you. So that's something I always have to keep in mind. But doesn't mean stay humble still, right?
Yeah.
Which I think us light workers tend to take a lot of personal responsibilities. So
you just said, wait, what did you just say? Who am I to want this?
Yeah.
And it feels like I keep hearing people say that.
Yeah.
It's like, and I don't think that's because people keep saying that. Like, people have probably always said that, but that for some reason, I am really drawn and really aware at this moment in time.
Yeah.
I keep hearing the same phrase from multiple people. So there's a fly.
Yes,
and
it's attracted to your energy.
So, like, I feel like that means there's something within me that needs to, like, why am I so aware of who, maybe I believe that, like, who am I to want these things? Like, who am I to do this? Who am I to be anything?
Well, it's interesting that's how our spiritual team and the divine will communicate with us with several different interactions. And I've had to learn, is it something within me, like my vibration and my energy, that is reflecting back to me? Or is this a divine synchronistic moment? Obviously, sometimes I don't know. Yeah. You have to use your discernment, and sometimes you know, oh yeah, that was just something in me that I needed to take in and overcome, right? Yeah. Alchemize that to become even more powerful, as I like to say. Or maybe it's the divine letting you know, hey, you have this thought in your brain about who am I? Yeah. Like, okay, now let's blast this into oblivion and step into your sovereignty, girl.
So, right? That's what it feels like. Like...
Just step into it. Yeah, I love to hear that too, because that's on par with the astrological energy as well. And if you're in alignment, then you're picking up those energies. So that's a good validation I can give you, that affirm that you are definitely in alignment. You're listening. Yeah. That's fantastic.
Yeah. What's something someone can do tonight to help them feel more free?
I love this question. So this is I'm going to go weird. And I think I love doing energy activations because I believe there's shortcuts to get you further along in your consciousness. So I'm going to share what was really powerful for me to become more free, and it has to do with empowerment, actually. Mm-hmm. So I think it's interesting. I could just feel your energy buzz when you say that word. So I feel like we're in the right vein. Apparently, we're doing our job. But the energy activation that I did personally, it had to do with empowerment, and I did find, ironically, on your body, your empowerment comes from your womb or your lower wisdom center. It's what you call your ascending energy. When you take in light from the divine, that is descending energy, right? And so I'm great at like, oh yes, let me feel the light. I can feel it, descending into my body. But the power, your personal power and your vitality is in your lower body. This is your primitive, this is your primal, your wildness. And so what you can do actually is activate that lower wisdom center to get more empowered, to really embody the energy and dig deep. This is where you'll find your life purpose, I truly believe, is in this lower wisdom center. So basically what you do is, it's a really simple exercise, is what you're going to marry your descending energy or your ascending energy with the descending. So if you can connect with your tailbones, if you think of your spine, and if you can find the tip of your spine, your tailbone, if you can somehow go down into your energy and find that point, this is your lower wisdom center. It's cavernous, it's dark, and it's deep. You can think of like a tree's roots going deep down into the earth. And if you can somehow imagine like a light is turning on at that spine, A lot of people call this Shakti or Kundalini, or some people even call it dragon energy. Some call it womb energy. But you're essentially just feeling that energy center. And if you can somehow, and it's okay if it's difficult for you to do, somehow imagine that light down in your lower wisdom center. For me, it's kind of like a black smoke, but please don't let me influence your energy. You want to bring it up from your lower wisdom center up into your heart area. So you just want to see if you can get that energy that you activated in your tailbone and bring it up. And really notice the sensations that you feel in that area. Notice the feelings that you might feel. I always have a journal. It's okay to break out of the energy to write it down. Like, I needed permission to hear that, so I'm giving you permission. You're not jumping out of the energy. But if you can feel that energy rise up and just kind of let it sit there for a second, and then see if you can feel light pouring down from the divine into your crown chakra. So it's going to come down and you're going to feel it settle in your heart too. So there's a light pouring down from the top of your head into your body, also settling. So now if you can somehow marry that lower wisdom energy with that light and then feel it shoot out your heart chakra or just gently flow. If you are able to do that every day, you are aligning your body with that dual energy, and it's going to create what I call the third energy. You're going to be attracting the thing that is your purpose, your baby with the divine, essentially. If you do this for 33 days, I guarantee you, you will know more about who you are, what you like to do, and what you want to create. So try doing this energy exercise every day for 33 days and write down any sensations or feelings. And you may realize that there are some thoughts that need to be overcome, or you may even be given a gift or a strength that you didn't know that was there before. And also give yourself a lot of freedom with the energy. If it looks different to you, if it's not black smoke, maybe it's like purple energy, or you imagine a snake going up. You just play with it, and you're telling the universe that you're ready to start walking in alignment. Just be careful, because you are opening a doorway by doing this. So just make sure that you are someone who wants to live their life in the sacred. You're willing to go all in on your essence, and you're not going to be saying yes to the things you hate anymore. So I'm just saying, be very careful when you're doing this energy, because you are opening a gateway. So that was very powerful for me. And that is how my new website came, was doing this energy activation. So, and suddenly I felt something come over my body, and I designed new services that are really high quality, that I put a lot of energy into, and created this website that I adore. And I think that vitality and energy that I create from that womb energy is what really skyrocketed it for me. So hopefully that helps other people as well. But everyone will have their own flavor, right? Even if this doesn't work for you, there are other things that you can do.
If you could say one message to every person in this world, what would you say?
It's a lot to do with empowerment. There is no one out there that's going to save you. I think that this is what, it sounds brutal, but I think this is for me to get me walking in my purpose, walking in my center, giving myself permission to have authority, to be a leader in my life. There was a part where I didn't look to others for a sense of validation, right? Or that I needed something from someone in order to be strong. Like a mother is a perfect archetype for that, right? I didn't need that mothering, nurturing energy from someone else, because I could get it through the divine. And you can empower yourself and nurture yourself in harmony with the divine, and having this beautiful sacred relationship, and you're limitless. There is absolutely nothing that you can't do. And there's a lot of work that has to be done to get us to believe that, body, mind, and soul. But I think that is where, whenever you're feeling vulnerable, like I was today, maybe you were too, like there used to be a part of me that's like, oh, I really wish that my parents could just tell me everything's okay and that you're doing great, but there's nobody really to talk about this stuff with, right? That you're feeling internally. And if you're like me, my parents were a victim of society as well, and so they couldn't validate me in my sacred path, right? So I saved myself, is what I would say. I went into my woundings, my triggers, my everything, and found out that there is nothing that I cannot overcome. And that if you have this sacred partnership, and you've done the work and you have the practice, you're untouchable. I think when I did this energy work of the Lower Wisdom Center, I think the central thing I came away with is I'm invincible. Like, you cannot dishonor me. I have this power within me. There's nothing that you can do to me. Sure, you can say a lot of frightening things to me and you can strip everything away, but at the end of the day, I am invincible with this partnership. And there's something I could tell people is that when you do this work and you decide to commit to the sacred, that you have a veil of protection around you that cannot be touched. I call it the Holy Grail. It's because you've done the work. You have this sacred relationship with the divine, and you do it because you want to be of service and you want to be of love, right? That's what makes you invincible. That's your power. So that is something that I'm embodying right now for my own freedom. To what is it now to live life fearless, right? I think you too,
Yeah.
right? What does it mean to live fearlessly, and what do my actions look like now that I'm not afraid? So I'm on that journey.
Yeah.
So we'll see what
Same.
happens. Yeah. So hopefully that helps people feel more liberated, because just personally, that's, for me, it's just everyday reminder I'm protected because of my purity of heart and my practice. Because we want to empower people. Our mission is our invincibility. So just, as what I'm saying, get out there and just see what happens. Take the leap. And so far it's been working for me. So doesn't mean I'm not still scared as hell. And I'm still at the very beginning stages of it, even though I've been working. That's another thing, right? It's like, sure, I've been working in the spiritual arts for forever, but I still feel like a student. I'm starting over.
We're forever a student.
Yeah. So I'm just like, I'm a student again. I'm feeling vulnerable. I'm feeling raw. I'm not as collected as I usually am because I'm working with this new energy. But guess what? I'm still so worthy to serve, right?
Yeah.
I'm still helping even in my newness, right? I'm still learning about the soul as well. So let's just all stick together, all of us who tune into the hidden, because we need each other. Which I wanted to mention, you did mention something about you just wanting to be alone sometimes. And I call this witch wound. It's basically where you have leveled up in consciousness so much now that it is difficult to be out in the world with that lower vibration, and how you almost cannot connect to that divide between you and maybe your friends too, if you've evolved further. And it feels like a wounding because you can't take them with you, right? They are not going to understand where your level of consciousness is. And I call that witch wound because you're someone who's constantly changing and evolving with the energy, right? So, and that means you leave some people behind, but some people stay in your life, but yet you still don't fully connect with them because they're not able to see you as far as they can see themselves, right? So I know that angst so much. When you said that, I'm just like, yes, because sometimes you can also see where a person's at and where they could, evolve, but you can't say anything because they're not ready to hear it. You got to let people be in their truth and honor their truth, but there's also this just wound inside of you that wants to connect, but you can't. I call it witch wound. So I was just going to say, when you said that earlier, I was like, I so felt that. Right?
Yeah, that's actually exactly how I feel.
Yeah.
Everything that you just described is is spot on.
Yeah. Right? That's what I think supporting, okay, so I'm going to be cheesy, but I really feel like the true alchemy of success is in friendship, and friendship with people with the same values and frequency and vibration as you, because it's so needed, because the world out there is so crazy and it's on a different vibration, and it is a fight every day to remain there. And I think that's important about empowerment too, is like, you have to be strong. You have to be strong in order to remain in your center and be yourself and not get taken in by the energies that are out there.
And that's another reason why I spend so much time alone, is because I know that if I am out there for a long period of time, I'm just going to start becoming that again.
Yes.
I'm going to start adapting to the fearful thoughts and ways of being.
Absolutely.
So I'm like, I have to spend a lot of time alone. I have to be connecting with spirit and feeling my inner power, so that I can like really show up in the way that I want to show up. Because
girl, because I don't know if you're like me, like I was always labeled, or I labeled myself as lazy, or I never really, because I worked in the IT industry, like in corporate IT. So you can imagine how unnatural that was for me to be at a cubicle like 5 days a week for 9 hours a day. Like physically could not do it. And so I always had many absences. And I have learned that I'm a very intelligent, articulate, very responsible person.
Yeah.
But I was in such an unnatural environment that I internalized like, oh, I can't seem to operate like everybody else. And when I tell people that I need rest, they don't understand, because they love that mentality. Oh, you push through, right?
Yeah.
You know, work. Don't be a quitter. Productivity. You'll even find that on social media, right?
Yeah.
How to be productive. I just want to take that and just freaking throw it away, because ultimately what it means to commit to the sacred is tuning into your own body's natural rhythms. And guess what? As a spiritually sensitive person like yourself, putting yourself out there, taking in all these energies, taking in the planetary energies, of course you need more rest than the average person. And so it's just giving ourselves permission, again, empowering ourselves to take the rest that we need when we need it, and remembering we're liberated and we're protected. So if we take a rest, it doesn't mean we're missing out on anything. And I think that was a big lesson for me too. So yeah, I get you. So it's like, so maybe even you, when you're planning your trips, like I had to do this too. I had to think about, when I became more aware and mindful and kinder to myself, I started to be like, okay, how do I want to travel? Because I know my family's saying that they need to do this, this, and this. I'm like, nah, I'm going to need an extra day. And you guys are going to this convention 3 days. I will be going to 1, and I will be doing a massage on another day. So it's like, it's learning to have your voice and use it and vocalize your needs, because this is going to sound kind of like, well, I'm here on a mission, and so it's very important for me to get my rest, because if I don't, then humanity loses. So sometimes I have to be light about it, because obviously what we do is serious and it's heavy.
Yeah.
But a part of enlightening yourself is enlightening up. And so please laugh about it. That's all I want to say. Don't be too serious. That's what I have to do.
Like many other people in this world, I still like partying and like going out and having fun.
Yes.
And I used to do that a lot, and now I'm like in this energy and this space of like, I don't want to do that anymore. And like I don't relate to people who do that anymore. But I'm like, but I need to have fun. I'm like, how do I have fun now?
Oh my God, you're at such a gorgeous stage. I love hearing that. But yeah, because that's weird for you to hear you say that, because even me, like in the spiritual world, like there are certain ideas about how you should go about things, right? And right, but then for fun, I never really realized in life that you have to work at fun. Like you have to work at your pleasure. You have to give your brain the opportunity to say, what is fun to me? Because I remember, like I do so much work, and I'm sure you do the same, about trying to be the most pure soul and perfect as I possibly can with what I eat and what I put in my body, and like who I surround myself with, and like and I'd been trying to purge and be perfect and spiritually work my sacred path, that at a certain point, I had done the work, and now it's like, okay, you're free. What do you want to do?
Yeah.
Like, stop working so hard. What is pleasurable to you? Because that's where the magic happens, is in the fun and the pleasure. So I also don't know. I don't know. I'm a new person. I've rebirthed. I'm at a new awakening. So what was fun to me before isn't anymore.
Yeah.
So you and I are in the same boat.
So
Like,
it feels like life is this like constant unfolding of like the unknown. And then, like, every, like, turn, there's, like, well, like, now I don't know again.
Yes!
And, like, it's kind of, like, I guess I could look at it like, dang, like, I don't know. Or I could look at it like, well, this is exciting. Like, I get to learn something new and experience something different.
Yeah, I love to hear you say that, because I need that reminder, especially the past few days from moving. Like, obviously, I'm out of my routines, and, like, now I don't have any of the stuff that I relied on before, and I don't know where I'm headed, but I do think that unknown, it's called like the sacred fool energy. That's where the divine can really come in, because the divine has more resources than we do, and more perspective than we do. So sometimes it's just a matter of just throwing up your hands and saying, I don't know, show me. And that's precisely where I'm at right now too. It's like, I don't know what my fun is anymore. I don't know where I'm going. I'm in the unknown, and I truly do think, like, I am excited, but also in despair, both. Despair, excited, scared. But I do believe that's where the universe can really get to work.
Yeah, I was just thinking that. Because, like, now you have no expectation.
Yeah.
It's, like, complete darkness, and your spirit team is probably just like, yes, like, we finally, we finally get to, like, put the stuff in her path that she's been asking for or wanting.
I love that. Yes, now they can put the ingredients in instead of me trying to put them in, right? I don't know. I guess we'll check in with each other and say, how's your journey going? Do you know anything yet? Do you see more of a clearer picture of where you're headed? Because it will come, you know, because especially if you're at this brand new energy, sounds like you are too, you're rebirthing into something new. Man, clarity will come. It's just the patience to wait for it.
I was literally just about to say, there's so much patience.
Yes.
And, like, it's like last week I had so many profound shifts energetically and, like, realizations and beliefs that I was looking at. And, like, it's literally been a week, and I'm like, okay, like, when are, like, things gonna start happening in my physical reality? Like, I just shifted a lot.
Oh my God, you just said my other angst of life, and it's so weird because I'm a part of a community as well. Other people like me, like, that I've gathered along my way, like other friends, and we're like all in a group text together, being like, oh my God, when is it gonna happen? And, like, I got this incredible message from my spiritual team. I was sitting in meditation, and I suddenly saw like flying tortoises. I know, sounds crazy. And I've started receiving, in this upgrade though, I've been seeing more visions, which I've absolutely loved. And I've even been visited and, like, been walking with gods, like almost like shamanic, where you go and on a vision quest. I feel like that's been happening. Story for another day. But these flying tortoises, I ended up reading in my medicine animal book, and it's all about patience. And I think it was kind of funny because that's exactly what everybody else is feeling too. I think it's because we can, if you're spiritually sensitive, you have the ability to instinctually feel where you're going, right? You can feel it. But the angst is like, well, when's it going to materialize? When is it going to materialize in the external reality, right? When am I going to be able to see it, evidence before me? I don't know. But you can start writing down, like, for me, it helps to write down in my journal, like, little things that happen that I notice that are materializing, that if I wasn't slowing down, I wouldn't see all the things that are happening, right? So, but still, I'm with you. I think a lot of us collectively that are in alignment are waiting for that materialization. So let me know when it happens for you, and I'll let you know when it happens for me. And I'm sure that other people I'm in a group text with too are all feeling it. It's like, because you can almost feel it, right? You can feel that energy wanting to be born. And this is collectively, this is a time to birth things. So I think we're all feeling that angst. So again, and I'll preach this to the cows come home, a little Texas saying for you, is that that's why your spiritual friends are so important. The community of people to like really empower, you know, be little soldiers for a more loving consciousness, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And where can people find you?
You can find me at jacqueline.sevenstar.com. You can also find me on Instagram at jacqueline.sevenstar, but I will be honest, I purged that. So there's only a couple posts on there. I will be doing a lot more in the future, but I'm already doing services on jacqueline7star.com too. So more to come, but that's where you can find me at the moment.
Beautiful. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, Lonnie. I just had a blast.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. This was fun. I'll talk about this all damn day.
Oh.